We're currently seeing an influx of new monitors nearly every week, driven by the widespread adoption of HDR and a very high demand for 4K panels. And the one we're looking at today, I'd wager is going to sell a lot, because it's the first 4K HDR monitor that seemingly has every feature you'd actually want. For starters, it's 32 inches in size, which is ideal for cramming in a high pixel density, but also allowing you to actually see and use all of that detail. As for the high dynamic range standards, well, it meets VESA DisplayHDR 600, which isn't the highest level out there, but it's arguably the price performance sweet spot when you compare it against the smaller and pricier PG27UQ from ASUS. As is always the case with LG's monitors, the styling is right on point, with a modern, clean aesthetic that will look good in any setup. The stand doesn't feel the most expensive, and it does have a little wobble, but I much prefer this approach to the overbuilt gaming solutions, as they just take up too much space on my desk. As you'd expect from LG, this uses one of their newest IPS panels, and it aims to give you the highest level of colour accuracy possible. This means you can expect a calibration report included right in the box, and then enjoy 98% of the DCI P3 colour space for colour grading video with precision. This level of accuracy makes it the perfect display for video and photo works, and editing pictures in Adobe Lightroom is a real joy, and it's clearly what this ultra-fine monitor is made for. You will want to invest in some calibration tools if you're wanting to keep this as accurate as possible, and LG helpfully make this easier by allowing direct colour changes when using compatible hardware. There's also some very high-end connectivity here, with both Thunderbolt in and out, which allows Mac and PC users to connect and charge their laptops with a single cable, as well as daisy-chain devices together. You can even run two of these side by side and then only use a single display connection to your computer. Very impressive stuff. If you're watching this as a dedicated gamer though, then to be honest, this isn't really the right monitor for you. It's very expensive, it's aimed at creatives, and while the input lag is okay, 4K gaming is very difficult to drive and it only runs at 60Hz. However, before you jump ship and run away, I want to answer a very important question. Is VESA 600, or VESA DisplayHDR 600 to give it the more appropriately and catchy name, important for gaming, and does it make a big difference? If you're unfamiliar with HDR, then there are basically three main factors that will give you the next generation of viewing experience, and that's the amount of colours, the peak brightness, and then the backlight dimming system. You can look at a monitor that has a VESA DisplayHDR badge to instantly tell whether your display is going to be up to snuff, and the 600 badge that we have here sits right in the middle of their ratings. Now I was actually expecting fantastic things from this monitor, but in my testing it's proved a little hit and miss. Let's start with the good, as 600 nits of peak brightness does indeed provide a noticeable and really positive improvement that can increase the wow factor and ultimately add realism. We can talk about real-time ray tracing and fancy reflections for days on end, but ultimately HDR is the next step for PC gaming, and it's accessible to everyone. The reason that I've come away a little disappointed, however, is down to the backlight dimming system. Now, the secret to well-executed HDR is to brighten the bright part of the images while darkening the darks, and this requires the backlight to shut off certain areas of the screen according to whatever game or movie you're viewing. But LG's edge-lit solution just isn't that effective, and as such you're getting a lower amount of contrast than I'd like. And games like Mass Effect Andromeda, where you have a lot of blacks surrounded by a lot of lights, they're just not really done the full justice, and the entire screen is essentially boosted rather than just the highlights. But don't get me wrong, this can work wonders, with Far Cry 5 being a shining example of the screen looking its best, and HDR on is significantly better than HDR off. But sadly, across the board, it is an inconsistent experience, and it's one that can't come close to the brain-frazzling visuals of ASUS's PG27UQ and the Acer X27. So where does all of this leave us then? Well, this is definitely a professional grade display, and while my gaming experiences have actually been pretty good, if you're a dedicated gamer, then there are much better gaming displays that you should look at. So if you need the best of the best, you maybe use Thunderbolt quite regularly or you're working with HDR workflows, then you should strongly consider picking up the UL950, as other than dimming issues, you are essentially getting what you pay for. But if you just want a high quality 32-inch 4K monitor, then there are actually much cheaper versions of this out there. So unless you're working with color critical applications and you demand the best, I dare say you might not even notice a difference in the first place. If you are interested in this monitor or some cheaper alternatives, I'll leave them all linked down in the description below with my Amazon affiliate links. But let me know what you think of DisplayHDR 600, this monitor in particular, and what you're going to go for next. I'm always interested to hear from you, and obviously if you want to see more reviews, you can find those in the end screen. Nice little monitor reviews playlist for you that should hopefully help you with your buying decisions. But thank you so much for watching this, I really appreciate it. Get subscribed for more videos like this as always. Thanks to LG for supplying this review sample, and ASUS ROG for sponsoring the channel as always. And that's enough rambling from me. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.